Welcome back, guys. Or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and today I get to do a side-by-side comparison of probably the two most closely related Subarus. The Crosstrek Wilderness on the left. Specifically, it's in Crystal White Pearl. This one MSRPs for around $37,000 after all of its options and goodies. And on the right, we have the Geyser Blue carryover year Subaru Forester Wilderness. This one also MSRPs for around $37,000 after its huge discount by the Twin Falls Subaru, and today I gotta show you guys how they're similar, how they're different, and which one might be the right Subaru Wilderness model for you. And if you guys get anything out of this video, please consider liking this video, comment your thoughts and opinions below, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you are new here, I'm a Subaru owner. I had a Crosstrek, I had a Subaru Outback, we currently own a Subaru Forester, so there's a lot that I want to share with you guys if you are considering spending almost $40,000 on a vehicle like this. But if you're new to Subaru as a company, the Crosstrek or the Forester as a model, or the Wilderness as a trim level, there's a lot that you should know if you are inquiring about one of these. They do share a lot in common because Subaru, like a lot of other automakers these days, they try to design more and more of their vehicles very similarly on the same global architecture. That way they can pass on some savings to you. There's less research and development that goes into it. Just look at those fog lights, for instance. They're literally the exact same. These both have an excessive amount of black plastic cladding. There's just a lot of overall design language and cues. They also have the same 8.75 wheelbase. The exact same powertrains, which you'll see under the hood soon, the same graphic decal on the hood to deflect some of the sunlight, and a lot of the other accents throughout these vehicles. You're going to see they are very similar. They are both top safety picks. The Forester was assembled in Japan, the Crosstrek was assembled in the United States. But when you are shopping these, they're not exactly the same, even though the price is very similar. The Forester has a few features that the Crosstrek does not. So these start at about $25,000 for the base model Crosstrek. But when you shop Crosstrek Wilderness, you're going to be having to look at about a $32,000 price tag. That's before any extra options, which you might want because the basic Crosstrek Wilderness does lack a few things. There's also destination, delivery, and any aftermarket accessories you might be interested in, because if you are shopping such an iconic off-road capable vehicle, a lot of people who like Subarus are kind of car enthusiasts. They do like to modify them on their own, but the way this one sits, it's about $37,000. And when you shop Wilderness, you get everything that the regular lower trim level Crosstreks have, but you also have really nice StarTech seats, which they don't get overly hot in the summer and overly cold in the winter. They don't breathe as well as cloth, but I really liked them when I had my Outback for a few years. It also has all the copper accents. It has 2 recovery points on the front and 2 on the rear, excessive black plastic cladding, upgraded roof rails, this being the Gen 3 Crosstrek. It even has the triple camera eyesight system, which works really well. This one is optioned with the power moonroof and a few other goodies you're going to see inside. But when you come over to the Forester, the carryover year, which I did put out a video just recently of kind of a knockoff Wilderness for 2025 that a dealership can build for you. Personally, I really liked it. It was kind of filmed as a joke, but also kind of not, because there are a lot of Forester Wildernesses in my area, and if you do want to be different, it's not too late. Even though this is going to disappear soon, even though Subaru hasn't actually announced that I'm aware of that there will be a 2025 or 2026 Forester Wilderness, you can still do aftermarket and build one yourself. But when you do want to shop Forester Wilderness, you get a front-facing camera. You get a little bit more interior volume. You still have the same powertrain, but you have a full-size spare tire and a few other upgraded features that you're going to see throughout this video. But as I mentioned, under the hood, these both have the same powertrain. So it's a 2.5-liter boxer engine. This Forester looks like it's been driving through the forest because it is a little bit dirty and dusty under here. So you could get that cleaned up. You could also, when it's brand new, get some weather stripping around the hood if you do want to make that a little bit shinier. So here's a nice clean example. It's 2.5 liters of boxer powertrain, which means you have about 182 horsepower, 176 pound-feet of torque. All the accessories on the periphery. This is the only unibody crossover that I know of that is longitudinally mounted. So the accessories, the serpentine belt, it's all right there. Everything is on top of the block, which is wide and low. So it has a low center of gravity, making this do extra good in the winter in addition to the symmetrical all-wheel drive. And then all the accessories are easy to get to. I love changing the oil on Subarus. This is the easiest vehicle platform that I ever changed my own oil on, and that's pretty cool. Both of these vehicles have the same 16.6 gallon tank, which is located on the passenger side, but the Crosstrek gets about 25 city, 29 on the highway. Meanwhile, the Forester gets one less on the highway. It's 25 city, 28 highway. So your max road trip and range on the Forester is about 464. Meanwhile, on the Crosstrek, it is 481. And then these actually have the exact same wheel setup. It's a Geolander by Yokohama, all terrain, snowflake mounted peak rated. It's not shaved down like some of the Toyota off-road models. So this has around 11 to 12, 30 seconds of tread depth if you measure it. And then it's a 225/60/17, which is a slightly smaller sidewall than what you get on the Outback Wilderness, but the wheel pattern is slightly different. Personally, I think they both look good. I might favor the Crosstrek though, just because this hasn't been around for as long. There's not as many of these on the road, so for now it does look a little bit more unique. But check this out. There's a literal wall of black plastic cladding on the Crosstrek. Not so much on the Forester. Maybe the next generation Forester Wilderness will try to match that, maybe even try to exceed it. But for now, that's about what you get. Because these are on the same Subaru global platform, their dimensions are more similar than you might think because they're measured at the most outer point. So that's the tallest point, the widest point, and the longest point. The Forester is about 15 feet long, 6 feet wide, 5.5 feet tall. The Crosstrek is just a couple inches shorter and smaller width and length in each of those dimensions, but they do have the same wheelbase. The Crosstrek weighs a couple hundred pounds less. It's around 3,300 pounds compared to the Forester, probably about 3,500 pounds. So these really do have more in common than you might think. But we're going to start to go into the interior, and you're going to see some of the shortcomings of the Crosstrek, where the price point, being similar to the Forester, just doesn't include all the same features. First of all, we're going to use the power liftgate on the Forester because it has one. Meanwhile, I'm going to go manually open the Crosstrek because that's what you have to do on every United States Crosstrek. I guess because the vehicle's running, it's not going to let us open that, so I'll be right back. But ultimately, it's really not that hard to lift and to raise. And then both of these have a special hidden button right here, which allows you to access the vehicle without having your keys on you. You can also deactivate your remote, throw the key in the vehicle if you're going to go camping or hiking or shooting or something, and you need to come back later and get into the vehicle. You can do that. I have a video. I'll show you the cover photo of it here. But the Crosstrek, being a subcompact crossover, has roughly 20 cubic feet of room right here. I don't think that the higher part of the room is that less usable. It's not like there's an excessive slant on how the power liftgate opens, but it's about 20 cubic feet. When you drop the seats, you have closer to 55. But because this is a subcompact crossover, if the driver's seat and the passenger seat aren't pretty far forward, sometimes it can catch. And then under here, for being a wilderness, it's kind of disguised under the badging, but you don't have a full-size spare tire, only a little donut spare, which is unfortunate. And there's not really a whole lot else to talk about back here. So if we come over to the Forester, which is about 10 cubic feet bigger, roughly 30 cubic feet back here, when the seats are down, it's roughly 70 cubic feet. You have a few extra options. You have a plug-in, you have a button to drop the seats, which I already have those down. You have more of that covering, maybe not as cool of a placemat as the Crosstrek, but when we lift it up, you have some extra room down there. And under that, you have a full-size spare tire. You also have some clips right here to hang stuff. And there's just a little bit more offered on the Forester, such as the subwoofer back here. And then you have the power liftgate, so you can lock and lower or just lower it back down when it's time to do so. Side by side, I have to say these vehicles look absolutely fantastic. And I know some of you guys own both of these in your garage or your driveway. And kudos to you because that's a good looking couple. But let's hop inside the Crosstrek and see what the subcompact has to offer. Door panel is a little bit cheaper, a lot of plastics, a lot of variation in materials. It's like there were a few different interior engineers, interior designers, and they just couldn't get on board with each other. And as a group decide which materials do we want to include on the inside of this Crosstrek. Otherwise, there's nothing on the door sill, Crosstrek mats. Not really a whole lot lit up on the dashboard. Fuse box, vent, lighting stock, leather-wrapped wheel, StarTech seats, which I love. These things are really comfortable. And then a little sunroof up top. The Crosstrek, you guys might not like to hear this, but it is kind of just a lifted Subaru Impreza. And then this is a double lifted version of that with some extra off-road bits. The leather-wrapped wheel is really nice leather, feels good in the hand. Simulated the gears with the paddle shifters, the horn. It's extremely high pitched. It really sounds like a subcompact crossover. The screen, these get better every year. I still don't like it over physical buttons for the HVAC down here, but it does get better software every single year. The backup camera is very grainy, and then you have a blank button instead of a front-facing camera, which is an absolute shame. You also have a wireless charger, you have some plugins, you have heated seats, bottle holders, snack pocket back here where the CD tray used to be, because when Subaru designed this third generation Crosstrek, they didn't actually really redesign the center console cover, which is kind of sad. But you have a pretty big storage in here. So even though this doesn't have above the glove box storage or transmission tunnel storage like some other Subarus, at least you have some decent space elsewhere. And then this has the upgraded garage door, compass, and auto dimming mirrors and side mirror package, which I love. Otherwise, LED lighting, you can tilt and slide the power moonroof, and you even have some LED lighting right here, which is pretty neat. But let's hop into the Forester Wilderness and see how different that is. When we come into the Forester Wilderness, a lot of the exterior is about the same proximity key features. You have a key hidden in your remote and your key fob that you can use to get into the vehicle if the power is out. You have the turn signals on both of these, the auto dimming mirrors, and you have the blind spot monitoring. But the door panel, I think the materials are slightly nicer, but like a lot of other Subarus, they can't really decide which materials to go with. So there's quite the variety of plastics in here. This does have the HK speakers, which sound pretty good. They're a pretty good upgrade over the factory ones. And then you have still a very similar looking approach, but because this does not have the giant screen with all the extra controls in the screen, instead it has some of those controls right here. So this might look fancier, but instead the Crosstrek has a lot of that. It's just they're not located on the dashboard. And then you have the nice StarTech seats, and then the big standard power moonroof up top, which does not tilt. So if you want a tilting one, this is not going to do it for you. But what does tilt is the tilt and telescopic steering wheel on all Subarus. So that's pretty cool. Otherwise, the steering wheel looks about the same. You have Sport Sharp and Intelligent mode for the transmission settings and the powertrain. This has the upper screen. When you use the camera for the front facing, it's small. But what's cool is you can be in drive and have that camera running, and I just think that's the neatest thing. Otherwise, you have the old school screen, which I personally prefer. You still have wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Sorry guys, right now that's not a good example of this screen working. Probably because it's like 20 degrees out, I don't know. But actually, in general, I like the screen more. You don't have a CD player anymore, that disappeared a couple years ago. But you do have some storage down here, some plugins. The backup camera is probably about the same as the other one. It might be better because maybe it's larger diameter. I don't know. And then you have X mode down here rather than through the screen like on the other Subarus. Electronic parking brake, auto vehicle hold, heated seats. The backpack really enjoys the heated seats, and so do I. Cup holders, carryover CD tray, because again, Subaru is saving money by not updating that design. And then you have a center console, which is probably no bigger than the Crosstreks. You still have the upgraded rear view mirror package, but on this one, you have a place to store your sunglasses because you have a lot of extra light coming in. Also some giant windows and a sloping down hood, even more so than the Crosstrek. So visibility in this thing is amazing. But as we hop into the back of this Crosstrek, I just want to mention that I love this crystal white pearl paint. It seriously looks so good, and even with all the black plastic cladding, at least this is kind of like the Stormtrooper edition of the Subarus, and I love the character and uniqueness of this. But overall, the back door panel, for being a subcompact crossover, opens really good, and I think it even opens bigger than my Toyota RAV4, which is kind of a hassle to get in and out of sometimes. The door panel, though, it's all the same materials. They could be better for $37,000. The StarTech seats, though, super comfortable. These seats are super easy to lift and lower, but if you have the front seats back, as mentioned earlier, that's where a subcompact comes into play. It's easier to get the seats to collide than it is on other vehicles. Behind myself, though, at 5'11", I have enough room to be comfortable. I have enough headroom to be comfortable. There's a little bit of a hump beyond the power moonroof. I just wish I had ventilation back here. That is something that would be greatly appreciated by the kids, by the pets, by everyone else sitting back here. And then something I love about Subarus is how thick the seats are back here. So when you have kids kicking, scratching, clawing at the back of your seats, if they're upset, or dogs, or grandma, or anyone else, this is some thick material, and this is going to hold up really well. Subarus are no joke, very kid and pet friendly. But let's hop into the Forester and see how it compares. The back of the Forester is probably going to be very similar, at least to the front of it. Door panel, again, kind of a variety of materials, but at least you have the Subaru Wilderness tag that you don't get on the Crosstrek. And then the StarTech seat, it looks very similar, but these do recline. There's a little bit of a strap hidden down here, so you can get a few degrees back, which I really appreciate. But this is where it's at. Check out all of that knee room. Check out the ventilation. Check out the armrest. Okay, that's not any better than the other vehicle, but still, all that natural light, the big windows. If I was going to go across town, I don't care which one I'm in, but if I was going to go across the country, I think I'd rather be in this one. Ultimately, guys, you cannot go wrong either way, but you should test drive both of these vehicles and check out the competition just to make sure that you are making the right decision for you. The Forester, it's one size larger vehicle than the Crosstrek, being a compact crossover like the CR-V and the RAV4 versus the compact crossover that is the Crosstrek. But it does cost about $3,000 more base MSRP at $35,000 versus $32,000. But it's easy to have them spec'd to about the same price. And at this price point, I think the Forester has more to offer, especially if this is for off-road purposes. They both have a 4:11 final drive ratio. They both have over 9 inches of ground clearance. They both have a lot of the same safety features. The Crosstrek technically has a better eyesight system with the 3-camera design versus the 2-camera design on the Forester. But the Forester has the full-size spare tire. It has a little bit more carrying capacity, at least in the cargo volumetric area. Even though they both have a 900-pound payload capacity, technically, the Crosstrek can actually tow more at 3,500 pounds compared to the 3,000 pounds of the Forester. But the Forester, people love these because it's the last Subaru SUV to have physical HVAC controls. The Crosstrek, people love these because of the uniqueness. This is like a super off-road capable little Subaru Impreza that's been lifted to the mountain peaks. This is basically an Impreza that's twice as expensive. One time just for the basic body, and another time for $19,000 worth of upgrades. And honestly, guys, I don't think you can go wrong either way, but like I mentioned, test drive them for yourself, make a fun day out of it. If you're gonna spend 37 grand, make sure it's the right vehicle for you. I always wish you guys the best. I hope you take care. Thank you for watching until the end. Check out the Twin Falls Subaru, the best Subaru dealership in the nation, in my opinion, because they sell below MSRP, they ship all over the country, and I wish you guys the best. Until next time, though, see ya.